Welcome back to Missouri Valley Media Day here on the field of 68. And we are now joined by Southern Illinois head coach Scott Nagy. Scott, I'm just going to throw your feet to the fire, man. It's year 30 for you as a head coach. I don't want to date you, but it is. Have you ever dealt with a situation like this where you have as much turnover on your roster as you are currently dealing with this program?
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. Having, coming here and having three players and having to recruit 10 in about a month and a half was something I don't ever want to do again. I hope I never have to do it again. But, it was a good learning experience for me and for my staff. And I think that was the other issue for me was only being able to keep one player one staff member coming with me. And so not only having to coach 13 new guys, but a whole new staff and getting them used to me and me getting used to them. So it's been a big adjustment. It's been a lot of work for all of us this summer, probably more so for me. I'm used to relying on my coaches pretty heavily in the summer and the fall to let them do most of the coaching so I can give the players a break from me a break, because once practice gets here, they're going to get plenty of me.
All right, we got to go through, give some people that probably maybe aren't as familiar with you. I got to give you a little bit of a plug here. 14 straight winning seasons as a coach, 18th in wins among active D1 coaches. 8 years at Wright State, 3 regular season titles, 2 NCAA tournaments, 21 years at South Dakota State, guided the program into the D1 transition. What you've done, 3 tournaments while you were at South Dakota State as well, is kind of ridiculous. And I tell everybody, among the underrated coaches in America, I will put you up there against anybody. I really will. As a ball coach, as an old school ball coach, there aren't many better than you. I want to know from you why you did this, why you went Wright State to Southern Illinois, because a lot of people probably don't understand that. And I kind of want to get that from you as well.
Obviously I'm not one of those coaches that chases jobs. In 29 years, I've been at 2 jobs and wasn't looking for a job in this situation either. And I appreciate what you said to me. I'm probably not great at selling myself because I'm focused on winning.
No. Wait. Let me stop you. Not great. You're probably the worst in America at selling yourself. Okay.
Yeah, it's that part of it's just not important to me. Because I don't want the program to be about me. I want it to be about the players. And I say this all the time. We've won wherever I've been, but really what I've done the best at is hiring good assistant coaches, and they've helped me get good players. And I say it all the time. I'm a good coach when we have good players, and I'm not a good coach when we don't. That's just the way that it works. And we found a lot of guys that have been under recruited and done very well with them, and they've stayed with us and trusted us, and we've helped develop them. And so it's all worked out very well for me. I'm thankful to have a job most days, and I don't take it for granted. Any office I walk into, I know that I could be fired the next day, and so I want to do a good job every day. Even though I never feel like I do a good job. But in leaving Wright State, I think a couple factors. One, losing my athletic director, Bob Grant, who was a great guy to work for. I felt like I had the best AD in the country. He just put such a high importance on men's basketball. He worked very hard to get me away from South Dakota State, which was not easy to do. That was a very hard transition for me and for my family. And I loved working at Wright State and working for Bob. But when he left, and probably even before that, I just had felt like that personally for me that I'd done about everything I could do there. And with Bob leaving, even though I wasn't looking for a job, I just felt like I was running out of energy, and I didn't like the spot I was in. I know that my assistant, Clint Sargent, was concerned about it, and I'm happy for him that he's able to walk in there behind me and get his first head coaching job. And so that's another plus for me to see Clint be a head coach. But to be able to not look for a job and to have somebody seek you out and really want you is special, and it's nice to be wanted. And Just coming here has given me more energy and more juice for the job, and I'm excited about it. There's a lot of teaching going on, a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces, including my coaches, and so it's just been kind of a big energy boost for me. Even though the most difficult thing, and I told you this before, the most difficult thing for me was leaving our family, because our 5 children, 3 daughters-in-law, three granddaughters, another one on the way. Leaving all that was hard for us, but my wife and I both looked at each other when this happened and said that this wasn't an accident the way it happened, because it happened fast. We weren't prepared for it, but we knew it wasn't an accident, and so we decided to go.
When you take over a new program, there's always going to be a level of getting to know people when you walk in that door the first time. But generally speaking, it's not when you're trying to build that roster at the same time, right? Maybe you have returnees, maybe you have guys that kind of know each other. You're coming in here with 2, like you said, 3 guys coming back to the program, 2 guys that played last year. Where do you start when you have this many new faces and this many people that are trying to get to know each other? Like, how do you start getting? It's not just players, right? It's coaching staff, it's members that are working with you. Like, how do you start? Like, what's point A for you in this process?
The staff, the staff is the number one thing. Getting them hired, finding people that can fit you, and that's not easy to do, particularly when you're hiring people that you don't really know. And that's what I did with almost every case but one in terms of our staff. But we feel like we got it right. There was a guy here, Jarence Howard, when I first got here, that I wanted to keep, and then a couple weeks into it, he went to Arizona State, so that set us back a little bit. We were able to keep Javon Mayman, who was here previously, and Javon has helped a lot in terms of the players that were here, the recruiting. He's very well known in Chicago. But, I think we got that right in terms of the staff, the people that we hired. Steve Hawkins was a really good gift for us and for me in particular. Steve has just such an incredible amount of experience, has taken teams to the NCAA tournament himself, and to have a guy like that with that knowledge sitting next to me is a big help for me. And then he kind of helps control the rest of the staff. So I do think I got that right, and then we got to work on going and getting the players.
All right, so let's get this off the rails a little bit, because that's what I do well. I do that pretty well. Rob can attest to that. All right, couple things I found out digging around about you. There's not a lot of dirt. All right, there's not a lot of dirt. One thing I found is, Rob, how about this? Every time, Scott loves to walk, like addicted to walking. But every time he walks outside, he sneezes and says it's hereditary. Is this true?
It is. I can't remember the name of it, but I say this all the time. If you ever went to church with my family, and then we walk outside, probably 5 of us are sneezing within about 10 seconds of each other because of the brightness of the sun. And it actually is a condition. It is hereditary. I don't know what it's called, but we have it. And so if I ever do need to sneeze, it's pretty valuable to me to be able just to walk outside and look near the sun.
That happens to me too. That's not uncommon. Whenever I feel like I have a sneeze, I just go and try to find the brightest light I can look at.
Yeah. All
right.
Yeah. I don't know what the condition's called.
Scott's a huge Cowboys fan, and he went to his first game. He went to his first game earlier this year, last week, against the Saints. And ask him what happened. First game.
I know what happened.
Yeah, the Saints beat them down pretty good. I think by halftime we were hanging out in the owners club and just eating a lot of food and having a good time. But that stadium is amazing. It was a lot of fun for me and Coach Hawkins. But yeah, I was born in Abilene, Texas, and been a Cowboy fan my entire life.
Well, that actually
I got
makes a lot
one
of
more.
sense.
One more before Rob gets it back to basketball. New puppy, Penny. First of all, I want to know if you did you name it after Penny Hardaway, number 1, and number 2, what kind of dog is
it? She's an English bulldog, and we basically came up with the name Penny just because of her color. But we had, when we moved here, it was incredible. We have a boxer and an English bulldog, and our English bulldog, who his name was Diesel. He was about a foot tall, 80 pounds. It was a crazy story, but he died on the way here in the back of the car. And
Oh,
it was awful. It was a terrible memory for my wife. It was just a horrible thing to happen. I think he probably had a heart attack, and
how
it
old?
was not a
How
good
old was he?
deal. And so, what's that?
How old?
He was 6.5. And English bulldogs aren't the healthiest dogs in the world anyway, but they're great dogs and fun. And so I went out and got another one. Diesel was very, very connected to my wife. I wanted a dog that was connected to me, so I bring her up here to the office quite a bit, and she's kind of the team dog, and everybody loves her up here. So we're training her. She'll be with me a lot next week up here. The players enjoy her.
So I was going to ask you. You said you're from Texas. You brought in Elijah Elliott from Rio Grande Valley. You brought in Ali Deba from Abilene Christian. You brought in Davion Sykes from Texas State, and you brought in Drew Steffi from Texas Tech. Was there a reason that you targeted a bunch of guys from Texas to bring into the program, or was it just something that happened that way?
Yeah, it was. Drew was the first. He was our first recruit, and I do think from that, just some of the connections that he has, his family has, the coaches that have coached him, it kind of helped us in some other areas. It's a little bit unusual to be at Southern Illinois and have 13 players, 13 scholarship players, and only one player is from Illinois. And here we have
Yeah.
4 from Texas. But we just had to do what we had to do. But we feel like we got a decent pipeline and some guys that are well known in Texas, and I think that helped us recruit other guys.
Yeah,
Can I
let's
tell
talk a
you
little bit about Drew
my
Steffi real
favorite?
quick, Goodman. Not to
Yeah.
not to cut you off, Goodman, but real quick on Drew Steffi, a 4-star kid coming off of a red shirt. Is it? How do you get him up to speed? Like, how do you get him ready to start playing after a year off?
Well, it's not super difficult. I think the most difficult thing is just changing programs and getting used to a new coach and what's important to us. But he's a good basketball player. He had people working him out the entire time he was out, even though he wasn't with a basketball team. And so I don't think that stuff has been really difficult. He's done a good job. He's a very good offensive player, very good shooter. He's getting better on the defensive end, which is going to be important to us in order for him to get on the floor. But having an extra year of college experience is good for him, even though he's a freshman.
All right, so I'm going to make you, since you've been doing this a long time, I'm going to make you the college basketball like czar. All right, as Jay Billis says, we need a college basketball czar. I'm going to make you that, give you that title. Give me the first thing you would do to change anything. Could be on the court, rules, could be off the court, NIL, transfer related, whatever it is. What's the first thing you change?
Well, I would get rid of the NIL is probably what I would do. Most people don't like to hear that. I don't necessarily like it. I don't think what's going on is good for the young men in terms of the bouncing around. So many of them end up in situations where maybe they get paid more money, but they're in worse basketball situations, and so it doesn't help them down the road. Everybody sees, the kid that it works out for, but they don't see the other 9 guys that it doesn't end up being a better basketball situation for them. And so. And I can't pretend like the NIL is not important because it is, and it's important to those kids, and I don't blame them for that. Money's important. And so I don't want to bury my head in the sand, but I'm not crazy about it. I just don't think it's what is best for them at this point because so many of them are going to be making more money now than they ever will the rest of their life, which is not the normal course of things. And so I struggle with it. I have to fit it in to what we're doing and my values. But I always say if I never had to get in a portal, I wouldn't do it. I would much rather recruit freshmen, keep them in our system. I know that's when we have the best teams or when we've had kids with us 3 and 4 years.
All right. Last thing I got for you, Scott, is you're heading to a really, really good league in the Missouri Valley. What do you do to prep for coaching here? Are you watching some film on other teams? Are you trying to figure out how other coaches want to play? There's a little bit of coaching turnover in the conference as well, but what do you do to get ready for a new league as you're entering as a coach?
A lot of turnover, and almost half the coaches in this league. I know that's a different league. The Horizon was more of an offensive league. This league tends to be more physical, lower scoring. I still like to play fast. I like our teams to score a lot of points. We're pretty free offensively, even though I think most people who don't know me, if they looked at us, would think, well, he's an offensive coach. I'm really not. I'm like, what's most important to me is defense. We just try to recruit good offensive players and we give them a lot of freedom. Last year at Wright State, we were number one in the country in field goal percentage. We were fourth in the country in scoring. We just had probably the best offensive team I've ever had, maybe one of the worst defensive teams. Last year's team may have been maybe the most disappointing year I've ever had. And we won 18 games and we should have won 25 because we weren't good enough defensively. And we were tremendous offensively. People couldn't stop us. And I know how important defense is. And so these guys are paying for it this year, even though they had nothing to do with it. We're spending a lot of time on defense. This is a very tough league. And so it'll be interesting to see with how we play offensively, how that's going to fit into this league, because we're going to play with pace and give guys freedom. The team we have is not necessarily a great shooting team. We lack a little bit of guard play. We're big. We're athletic. We should be physical. We should be a great defense and rebounding team. It's going to be interesting to see how it all works. But I think as I look at those two leagues, that's probably the biggest difference is just how much more wide open the horizon was than the Missouri Valley is.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you with this before you close, Rob. I've been to Carbondale once. Okay, once. It was 2007. Brad Stevens' first season as a head coach at Butler. I think it was his 12th or 13th game. Came in. And they won on a last-second, 40-footer from A.J. Graves. Butler was ranked at the time. They win the game. Again, Brad Stevens is a rookie college head coach. They win in a buzzer beater. And just like you'd expect from Brad Stevens, literally shows zero emotion, goes down, shakes the hand of Chris Lowry, and nothing, not a smile, nothing on his face. But I'll tell you what, that game, I'm not kidding when I tell you, that was a top 5 atmosphere, a top 5 game I've ever been to in college basketball. So I would love to get back to Carbondale. That's the goal. You got to get this thing back going. Get it back going. And we know you will.
Well, that's why they hired us, and that's why they hired us. They're putting their trust in us. Brian did a good job here before, and coaching's a tough deal, and I got a lot of respect for what he's done, what he's done here. They want to be in the NCAA tournament, and we've done that, and obviously this is a step up for me, and so it'll be interesting to see how we handle it.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you being here, man. We appreciate you jumping on with us, and we have more coming from Missouri Valley Media Day here on the Field of 68 that's coming up next.